Game of the Year is not Expedition 33. Hang on, before you call for me to be dragged out into the street, I do think it is an extremely good game. It's not the focus of this video, so all I'll really say on it, it was on track to be my personal Game of the Year. For example, the OST is fully deserving of being the best of the year, but the ending of the game, I felt, failed to give a satisfying conclusion to the earlier parts of the story, and as a result, colored my opinion on the entire narrative. I am excited for the studio's next game, but I just think the ending was not it. Another contender that I haven't played yet is the new Donkey Kong game, and I won't get to for a while because I'm broke and don't have a Switch 2 yet. I also do want to shill for Look Outside, which is one of the best indie RPGs to come out in a really long time. It has striking visuals and phenomenal art direction. Plus, look, you have a rat son and a teeth child. But the game I am going to be talking about has, at least of now, had wonderful word-of-mouth success based on what has been said in interviews with the developers. The 100 Line, Last Defense Academy, is a joint effort from the creator of Danganronpa, Kodaka, and the Zero Escape games, Uchikoshi. For those of you that aren't familiar with these two series, the Danganronpa games are about various high school-aged kids that each have a special talent that they are the best in the world at: ultimate gambler, ultimate musician, ultimate detective, etc. In each game, the group is trapped in a location and forced to play a killing game where to escape you need to kill someone and then have someone else take the blame. Zero Escape is also a killing game, but has a much more varied cast age-wise and also isn't set in school. Danganronpa is closer to investigation logic games, where you need to piece together a case like any detective show. Zero Escape, on the other hand, is much more about the actual puzzles and escape room scenarios that all scream the author had discovered a Wikipedia page that he got hyper-fixated on and wanted to gush about it. The gameplay of Zero Escape is a lot closer to puzzle games like Myst than a traditional visual novel. In each of them, you have to go to different rooms searching for clues and solving puzzles, but the story of Zero Escape is far more front and center compared to those older games. Both series had their positive and negatives, but I still liked them quite a bit regardless. I enjoyed Danganronpa and Zero Escape for different reasons, but both scratched a very similar itch. I am also one of the only people who played Rain Code, another Kodaka game, and originally a Switch exclusive game that did not do numbers. It's on PC now, but too little too late, despite how much I liked it. If you're new to this game genre as a whole, you're in luck. There are plenty of inexpensive entries across the board to see if it's something that appeals to you. Order only matters for the longer running series. Danganronpa 1, 2, Ultra Despair Girls, but we don't discuss that one, and V3 are meant to be played in order. Though the proper sequel to 2 was the anime, which is fine. Zero Escape, meanwhile, wants you to play the Nonary games, 999 and VLR, before Zero Time Dilemma. Code Rain and 100 Line, on the other hand, are both entirely standalone experiences. Before doing this video, I wanted to experience all of these games so I could have a better understanding of what their past influences were. I played Danganronpa several years ago, but only got to Zero Escape this year. It really did open my eyes to what parts of 100 Line took inspiration from where. Not saying that these are the only things that did, as they mention by name several adult visual novels in the literal text of the game. 100 Line, like Danganronpa and Zero Escape, is extremely text-heavy. It's got more actual gameplay elements than the previous series, but at the end of the day, it's still a visual novel at its core. The thing about 100 Line is that I genuinely have never played a game quite like it. It's not perfect, and some parts of the game should have been straight-up cut. Foreshadowing. But when it works, it's just gas the whole way through. I'll get into gameplay in a bit, but I feel the need to set up the premise first. The intro to the game and framing device grabbed me personally pretty fast. You play as Takumi Sumino. In his words, just your average, everyday high school student.
Nothing ever happens to me. Each day is just like the day before and the day before that. I live my life in the same town with the same people, watching the same commonplace events play out day after day. Just a mundane, average life. Nothing more, nothing less. Yep, same old. This is how it's always been, and probably how it always will be.
The Tokyo Residential Complex, or TRC, is where Takumi and everyone around him has lived their entire lives, never having the chance to leave. His childhood friend Katawa being the only person in Takumi's life that has expressed interest on things beyond the enclosure. Out of nowhere, on your way to school, a siren sounds and warns everyone to rush to the nearest shelter. The noise causes Katawa to have a panic attack as she does not like sirens. Upon reaching the shelter, Takumi briefly wonders what the cause of the sirens is, as neither he nor anyone he knows has ever been on the surface during the emergency situation. Once the alarm is over, Takumi gets blindsided by a dog as he attempts to exit. Katawa chases after the dog rather than help Takumi, which, same girl. He gives chase and is led to a rundown part of the complex, one with a school that looks like it belongs in a ghost story. Takumi stumbles across the dog from earlier when something rather out of left field happens.
It's you. What in the... Whoa!
Takumi Samino, congratulations! You have been chosen!
Huh? What is this thing? Some kind of weird toy? Or a robot, maybe? And how does it know my name?
I've finally got you all to myself. That girl chasing me wasn't part of the plan at all. I hate it when people go off script. I guess I can't blame her, though. There's just something about me that's totally irresistible, wouldn't you say? Such an attractive young lady, too. The two of you seemed awfully close. Just how much does that girl mean to you?
Huh?
Oh, don't be so bashful, fella. Nothing to be ashamed of. In fact, it'll make things a lot easier. I'm gonna need you to shove this into your chest. Pointy end first, of course.
What? Another alarm already.
This is an emergency announcement. The complex's danger level has increased to 9.
You see? While you're here dilly-dallying, it's already begun.
It's begun? What has?
Why, the end of the peaceful, everyday life you have been living, of course.
Huh?
Yep, that's the face everyone makes at first. I never get tired of seeing it. Thought your life would go on like this forever, didn't you? It's okay. It's just the way people are. Starting today, your life is about to change. Pack your bags, mister. You're going to war. Hey, where you going? You forgot this! Come back! Come on!
After telling you to stab yourself in the heart, the sirens go off again and Takumi sprints off both in fear of this weird little creature and out of worry for Katawa. They run into each other outside the school, but before they can get a sense of what's happening, they suddenly learn the cause of the sirens. Running through the now burning TRC as bystanders are being literally pulled apart by the sudden invasion, Takumi and Katawa get surrounded before falling off a collapsing bridge. As he comes to, Takumi seems Katawa is surrounded by these alien invaders and is quickly running out of time. Popping up again, the weird ghost-looking robot thing says that you can save her, but only if you stab yourself. I don't know about you, but I don't trust a thing that looks like that asking me to stab myself.
No! Ah! Papa!
Fuck. Alright, fine game, I'll stab myself. After defeating the strange creatures, you run over to Katawa just to be swept away by Sirei as he announces your recruitment into the Last Defense Academy. Takumi wakes up to find himself in a strange classroom surrounded by several other people he's never met. This is a pretty obvious nod to the openings of the Danganronpa games, as that's how each of them begin. Now, when you're introduced to the bulk of the cast of the game, all of them are not exactly Takumi's age, but close enough. I won't go super into depth since there are so many characters, but just to give a taste for the dudes we have: Takemaru, resident delinquent who helps old people cross the street; Ito, man who cannot read the room and overshares constantly, fan favorite; Gaku, panicking loser whom everyone feels the urge to bully constantly; Shoma, where self-esteem goes to die; and Ima, a bit too obsessed with his twin sister. For the ladies, there is Hiruko, strong-willed, no-nonsense type who seems to actively dislike everyone in the room, and is my wife; Darumi, if Tumblr was a person that only talked about visual novels and wanting to die; Tsubasa, mechanic who, depending on the day, goes from building a portable fan to a missile that can kill God; and Kako, Ima's twin sister who believes she has psychic powers. Lastly, Sirei, as your commanding officer, explains that humanity is at war, and that all of you are part of the last line of defense Academy. To show that none of this is being made up, and also explain that even if someone wanted to run away, they don't really have a choice, Sirei opens up the shutters covering the windows.
No.
Huh? There's no ceiling.
Could that be the sky?
That's the sky?
No way. Somebody tell me I'm dreaming?
Never mind that! Look over there!
Huh?
The Undying Flames are in place to stop the invaders from attacking the school, because, as Sirei explains, humanity's last hope is somewhere deep inside the school. If the invaders get inside, all of humanity in the TRC is doomed. It's at this moment that familiar sirens go off, but instead of asking everyone to take shelter, we get to see what exactly is going on. As you would expect from a bunch of people who have not only just met, but have been forcibly recruited into a war against alien invaders, not everyone's super enthusiastic to jump into the fight. Hideko, Darumi, and Takemaru are the first three to volunteer, with Takumi joining in later. Sirei said that they were fighting to protect what they held most dearly, and he's fought for Katawa once already. This is the first example of what the gameplay loop of 100 Line really is like. It's a turn-based tactical RPG. You need to play defense and protect the generator that's the school's shield from taking damage. There aren't turns per character, but you have a total pool of action points that you spend to move, attack, or activate special abilities. Once you run out, then it's the enemy's turn. Rinse and repeat until you either win or lose. For context, it's kind of like Baby's first XCOM or Fire Emblem. It has much less mechanics than either, and frankly, it's a pretty easy game. They have added a mode that is much much more difficult, but one, I'm okay with it not being super difficult in the first place, with the length of the game as is. I've also watched enough streamers lose in the tutorial because reading is an impossible skill to develop. As you'd expect, you get more characters to use in combat as the game goes on, but at the start, it's just these 4. Each character has different things they're good at. Takumi is sort of your generically good and easy to use main character. Takemaru has great movement and defenses. Hideko has poor movement but gains more damage every time she kills something. And Darumi has some of the best AoE in the game. Once you clear out the waves of enemies, you are introduced to what the boss type of enemies in the game in what I'd say is a pretty memorable way.
Hell, man! You want us to fight that thing?
Size isn't everything. I don't believe it'll give me any trouble.
Yeah, baby!
Hurry! We have to save her!
Yeah. Being down one party member for the rest of the fight means that you need to understand the basic mechanics of combat. If you don't, then it can spiral out of control pretty quickly, since losing anyone else results in an immediate game over. Before you're able to finish this strange entity off, it flies away, leaving you victorious and mostly alive. Returning to the school, Sirei attempts to rally everyone's spirits with a celebration, but having just watched someone get crushed to death hasn't left most people in a party mood. That is, until they hear a knock at the door.
Hey, guess who's back?
Huh?
What? Oh, what's the matter, guys? Is my makeup smudged or something? Oh, man. How embarrassing. Just give me a shovel so I can bury myself and hide, am I right? Never mind that. How are you alive? Is she a ghost? Man, wouldn't that be cool? I'm not, though. Just your girl, Darumi Yamamiya, in the flesh. I don't know what happened, but I basically came back to life.
The voice acting in this game is pretty stellar, but I really gotta give it to Sarah Petard, the voice actress for Darumi. She delivers one of my favorite video game performances ever.
Hey guys. Are your muscles hurting as much as mine?
Not just my muscles. My throat feels like it's been lined with sandpaper. All that throwing up must have inflamed it.
I don't even know if I can lift a pair of chopsticks right now.
Darumi has encountered a fatal error and has to shut down. She will continue in power-saving mode until fully charged.
Sierra explains that because of the power of hemoanima, which is basically blood magic, all of the students are able to be revived if they die on school grounds. This is another deterrent to trying to escape. If you do and die, that's it, no second chances. At this point, you're allowed to explore the school and chat with your fellow classmates. Real quick, I did want to make mention that the developers really are paying attention to feedback regarding quality of life. A good example is when I first played, you only knew which floor students were on the map and not which direction they were in, but now it shows you which way gets you to them faster. It's not a mind-blowing or huge change, but it feels so much nicer. Not every room is unlocked at the start, once again a nod to Danganronpa, but as the days go on, Siraya unlocks more and more of the school to let you explore. In one room, you run into Hideko as she's investigating a wall of undying flames that's inside the school. Behind is a vault door, and as you probably could imagine, is the secret last hope for humanity that you've been tasked with defending. Eventually, you're called to the cafeteria by Sirei, who says that those who fight get to eat whatever they want, while the rest must deal with stale bread and water. Arguing begins to break out about the fairness of making them fight a war that they were thrown into, until Sirei finally agrees to tell everyone what it is you're fighting to defend. Tensions are running high, so he asks everyone to wait until the next day to discuss it, promising to give all the details he's able to. Before moving on, I did want to say how much I adore Sirei's theme. It gives the vibe of, anyone mind if a white boy throws it back a little? Going to sleep, Takumi dreams of a moment in his childhood where Katawa and her father were in a car crash. Unfortunately, he didn't make it and she survived, but with a massive scar across her stomach. Waking up in a cold sweat, Takumi wonders why, now of all times, he dreamed of that. Needing to clear his head, Takumi heads out into the roof to gaze at the stars. He's interrupted by a person appearing behind him, cloaked in undying flames. Takumi attempts to speak to the boy, but while it appears he can hear him, Takumi cannot hear any response. Looking dejected, the boy vanishes in a swirl of flames, leaving no trace behind. Thoroughly shaken by this, Takumi is unable to sleep, but returns to his room to await Sire's morning announcement. Morning comes and they all gather in the war room, only to find that Sire is nowhere to be found. Assuming he's delayed by going over the details with his superiors, you're then introduced to the non-combat, non-story segments that make up the rest of the game. Exploring the school, you can spend time with your fellow classmates, run training simulations, or going outside the school. You can leave temporarily by using special fire extinguishers that dampen the undying flames so that you and 3 other characters can go looking out for supplies. It takes place on a game board style map where scattered around are various event tiles. You can kind of think of it like a Mario Party board where some spots give you coins but others trigger minigames. In this, the event spaces have a chance to give you bonus materials or cause you to take damage. The general use of this is getting things like minerals, textiles, etc. to upgrade Takumi and his classmates. This is how you level up in the game rather than pure combat or experience points. I found this section of the game to be pretty enjoyable, but others have said it didn't really click with them, so your mileage may vary. On the plus side, if you really don't like it, outside of specific story segments, you can just do what's called quick exploration. It doesn't give you as much as if you did everything manually, but it's enough. You return as night falls and go back to bed, hoping that Sire shows up tomorrow. But tomorrow comes and again there's no sign of him. This is the first main plot beat of the game that continues for quite a while. This is the point that I wanted to say that if you watch this far, you may not be aware. You've signed a legally binding contract with me that says you have to play the demo of this game. I know, I wrote and am enforcing the contract, but you can't get mad at me. I don't make the rules. The demo goes from the very beginning to day 7, which I feel is both a lot of content for a free demo, but it also has a really great hook on day 7 that leaves you wanting more. Plus, if that wasn't enough, your save data carries over to the full game if you decide to buy it, so you won't have to replay any of it unless you want to start over completely. Another positive is it gives you at least some insight onto why Hideko is the best character.
They may be disgusting monsters, but their insides certainly are a pretty color. Oh, and the way their brains splatter everywhere when you crush their skulls. It's like poetry in motion.
You do realize how creepy you sound, right?
Don't you fucking judge me, Takumi, you piece of shit. The final specific part of the story I want to talk about is how after the second wave, a strange thing happens. You are approached by what appears to be a human wearing some sort of armor. When you call out to them, they raise their hands as if surrendering. That is, until they begin to speak.
Kudukuzo, dipifugu vatu, pamashniku jetu vudu petu, kavane chuk.
Is that Nemo Anima?
What the? Is that the enemy commander?
After defeating the boss, they revert to their apparent human form, the Hemo Anima-like power spent. It then seems to beg for its life. Everyone begins discussing what to do until Hideko steps in and you witness one of the more unsettling aspects of the game.
Hurry up and kill it.
What?
Was I not clear? We are at war. This is one of our enemies. That's all we need to know. Trying to understand or sympathize with it is just a waste of time. Somebody kill it so we can finish up here.
But...
If you're not gonna do it, then I will. Step aside. Exquisite.
As you spend your 100 days, you continue to develop stronger bonds with your classmates, eventually forming unbreakable friendships. Slowly, everyone begins joining the war effort, as you fight harder and harder battles. The demo ends before Tsubasa joins the fight, so you don't get access to the most brutally overpowered character in the game. Don't get me wrong, other characters are good, but Jesus Christ, she's on another level. Down the line, you find a second school with even more students, one of whom is a dead ringer for Kadoa, and that is yet another of the central mysteries in the story. But again, that's something you'll have to discover for yourself. What's that? Oh, it appears some of you heard about this game having multiple endings and a lot of choices, but you're asking why I haven't mentioned or shown any of those yet. Well, you see, you hit day 100 and the plot reaches its climax. And much like Dragon's Dogma 2, if you know you know, the menu screen changes. It's now 100 line 2, and upon loading your save, you are met with a new option, Chapter Select, which, well... This game is really something special, and one of the highest praises I can give it is, I think it's one of the only games I've ever played that's worth the $60 price tag. Is it perfect? No, not even close. As I mentioned earlier, some of the paths of the game should have either been rewritten or cut entirely, the conspiracy path being one of the least popular, but some of the voice actors in interviews have even mentioned how they didn't really care for the Box of Blessings. For perspective, the main reason the story quality and length can change so much per path is because they brought in dozens of guest writers, some of whom have made some of my favorite character writing ever. Retsnam. But for context, Box of Blessings was written by the author of Boruto, which I'll just leave that there. However, the number of story routes that drag on I can count on one hand. The majority of the game's story is enthralling the entire way through, to the point that when I was playing, I kept losing track of time, much like getting lost in a good book or binging a show that has its claws in your brain. You might be worried about how long the game is, and that's fair. I feel it mostly respects your time. Saving, making different choices, and skipping through stuff you've already seen and done is extremely easy. They keep making quality of life updates, so I wouldn't be shocked if they have more that I currently don't even know about. Plus, the game itself is only insanely long if you want to 100% it. I did because I have a brain problem. It's entirely reasonable that you only make the choices that interest you. If you do end up playing it, or have or watched somebody, my first choice-driven story was the cult one, which, Don't do drugs, kids. Kodaka has also said that they want to keep adding to the game, more story, options, etc. As of now, there hasn't been anything announced, but I'm more excited than ever to get more 100 line. It truly is the best 7 out of 10 game I've ever played, and like everyone else who made this game their personality for a solid month, I am never going to stop trying to get more people to play it. Honestly, this just makes me look forward to the other games this studio is going to make. They proved their chops and have earned my trust. Until then, it's going to be nice to detox and play some other games, ones with less story and heavy stuff, and just sort of let my brain veg out. I've got time before their next game, Shoot an Order, comes out, which is about you playing a cult leader and trying to figure out which one of your weirdo underlings killed you. Wait, no, you can't, that's not... It comes out next week! Fuck you, Kodaka!